in the presentation. Okay. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mongolian Evolution Association's monthly learning session for April 2025. My name is Furup Dolum. I'm co-chair of Evolution Capacity Development at the Mongolian Evolution Association. And I'm very pleased to be your moderator for today's session titled United Nations AI in Evolution Case Studies. So I'm very thrilled to have such a great turnout for these important discussions. So here today we are honored to welcome Mr. James Go. Sorry for if it was a wrong pronunciation. As our the speaker today, James is the founder and CEO of iLeasy, and the AI consultancy that provides cutting-edge solutions for the evolution teams, including online AI tools on iLeasy.com. So he has led multiple data science and evolution projects for development organizations, including Dalberg, ID Insight, One Acre Fund, and etc. So with a master's degree in data economics and development policy from MIT, James specializes in leveraging AI to drive innovation in the development sector. So here we will begin with James's presentation now, and followed by the Q&A session in the end. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, or just open the mic and ask the questions directly during the session, please. So now, without any further delays, I am very pleased to hand it over to James to the presentation.
Okay, thanks for making time. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Can you see my screen?
No.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Are you able to see the
Okay,
screen
here
now?
we go. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So I'll start by by giving an overview. So today we'll be covering some UN AI and evaluation case studies. So a bit about myself. I think you had some overview, but essentially I've done a lot of projects in AI and evaluation. So I'm happy to share some of the key insights from multiple projects that I've done. So today we'll cover 2 key case studies. The first is to use an AI avatar interviewer to collect over 50 interviews, and to then use AI to analyze these interview transcripts. So this project was with the UN Institute for Training and Research, and they wanted to use the avatar to collect feedback from different stakeholders. And it's very time consuming to collect feedback. So they wanted to use an avatar to collect feedback and interview their stakeholders. The second case study is with UNICEF. And UNICEF wanted to analyze over 700 management responses across more than 160 evaluation reports. And again, that's very, very time consuming. It's thousands of pages of reports. So they wanted to see how AI could help to do a synthesis across all of these reports. Throughout the presentation today, I will cover how the UN agencies used AI, in particular, how they use this platform. So I'll show you some screens around how they use this platform, just so you get a better idea of what exactly those UN agencies did, what the AI contributed to, and what the UN agencies did. Throughout the presentation, I will also cover some reflections. So these would be things on bias, hallucinations, and human over. So maybe here to see if there are any questions.
Okay.
Before, are there any questions? Are there any questions on what we will cover? Otherwise, I'll proceed.
Sure. Go on. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so
connection is a bit sometimes distracted.
Okay, let me know if it gets worse. But if there's nothing else, I'll proceed. So I'll cover the first case study. So that's to use the AI avatar. So essentially, these are what Unitar wanted to do. Here, these are the key interview questions that they wanted to ask different respondents. And so you can see these are things like, what are the key gaps? What did they think about the program? How effective were they? Did they reach the right beneficiaries? Very typical evaluation questions. And on the right, you see a list of languages that they wanted to support. So these are languages that they wanted to cover to help to reach a more diverse range of respondents. So if they wanted to do it by themselves, it's very hard because getting access to those who have these language capabilities is very limited. So essentially, this is what the AI avatar looks like. They uploaded an interview guide, and then they got the avatar to sort of follow your interview guide. More importantly, the avatar is trained to go beyond what's in your interview guide, and it's able to ask follow-up questions. It's able to probe deeper, and that's what makes it unique. It doesn't just follow your interview guide blindly. It helps to identify, what your respondent said and follow up accordingly. So once these interviews were conducted, they were then able to download all of the interview responses. So these would be the interview transcripts. They also did a survey along with the avatar interview. So they were also able to download those survey responses. So in terms of the key findings for the avatar, they were able to collect over 50 interviews in just 3 days, and they did this across multiple languages. In general, the participants were very comfortable speaking to the avatar. We got very detailed responses, and that was very useful because it showed that they were comfortable, responding to its follow-up questions, and the avatar was able to understand what they were trying to say, and were asking intelligent follow-up questions so that they felt that they had an engaging conversation. So, for example, a typical transcript for 60 minutes was about 10 pages long. So very similar to typical interviews. We did find more nuanced responses and findings. So for example, some interesting findings are that the female avatars actually yielded more detailed responses from participants. So that's something that's very interesting, and actually it aligns to what is typically found among human interviewers as well. Another interesting finding is more on the technical side. There's still some technical developments that we're trying to improve. In particular, if a lot of the respondents pause for some time, then what we find is this might lead to the avatar misunderstanding that the interviewee has completed their response, and sometimes they might interrupt the respondents. So, it's not a perfect solution for now, but it's something that has been quite effective at collecting so many interviews in such a short time. So beyond this, once they collected all the interview transcripts, they were then able to analyze the interview transcripts themselves. So get themes, collect key quotes, and so on. So what I'll show you is the AI Lies interface. It's just one interface that you might use to extract insights from documents, but it gives you a sense of what the AI is able to do, how much oversight you need, and the current state of AI capabilities. So here you can see that the Unitar uploaded many different interview transcripts, and they then chose different types of analysis. They can get a summary, get themes, get answers to questions, get a frequency analysis, and to compare across different segments. So once they select all those different options, they can put in their list of interview questions and so on. But what the output that the AI gives is basically a report that looks something like this. It gives you a summary, the themes, and your list of questions that you're interested in. So these would be your evaluation questions typically. And if they click on any one of this, they will see an output that looks something like this. So here is an output for a theme or evaluation criteria or one of the evaluation questions. And at the top, you'll see the overall analysis across all of your files. So it'll tell you what the most participants say. And then at the bottom, it'll give a more detailed analysis of each file. So if you want to dive deeper into individual participants, you could do that. In addition, if I zoom into the analysis, you'll see that everything is backed up by citations and quotes. So here, this is an interesting lesson. So, in AI, there's always a lot of concern about bias, hallucination, AI-generated content or plagiarism. But increasingly, a lot of AI tools are providing citations, providing these quotes, and the risk of bias and hallucination is very much reduced because of interfaces and innovations like these that allow you to understand where all of the analysis is coming from. And you can even click on these quotes to see where they lie in the source document. So you really have no worry that the quotes are generated or
Sorry, James, we lost you.
hallucinated, because you can even click on the quotes. The analysis, if I scroll, where did I stop?
Yeah, yeah, just 30 seconds around. Yeah.
So
Yep, that one. Yeah, that area.
did you manage to hear about the citations? Thing is about
Yeah,
citations
we
and quotes?
heard about citation and quotation.
Okay, good. Then the next point is that you can click on the quotes to see where the quote lies within the source document. So again, that gives you confidence that the quotes are not generated and also gives you context around those quotes. Beyond this, if I scroll down, I'll see a comparison of viewpoints across segments. So the AI will also tell me for this, for example, evaluation criteria, what did males say, what did females say, and what were some similarities and differences across males and females. In addition, the AI will also give me a frequency analysis. So here you see this is one of the themes, and the AI identified 4 different viewpoints. And for each viewpoint, it quantified how many participants spoke about that viewpoint. So it makes it very, very easy to understand, which were the dominant versus minority viewpoints. And then if I want to know specifically that breakdown, I can scroll down and I will see specifically which participants spoke about what, along with the quote. And if I also want to figure out how they differ across, let's say, males and females,
there are different segments. So here, for example, I can toggle the chart to see how it differs across male and female. And then finally, you'll see that for every analysis, there's an AI chatbot that you could use. So you can click on the chatbot icon, and then you can chat with the AI generated report. So you could refine the analysis, you could find more quotes, you could tell it to help you draft an initial report on some key takeaways. And so that also makes the analysis much more flexible. So that's basically what they managed to do in terms of the analysis side. And just to summarize, they were able to analyze those 50 interviews, which were about 500 pages, in just 2 days. And this was across multiple languages. So the AI understands multiple languages, up to 90 different languages. And it's able to synthesize all of that very, very quickly. And it covered thematic analysis, content analysis, cross-segment analysis, and frequency analysis. But what is more interesting is where AI was able to play a role and where the human played a role. And what you saw in that interface is the AI primarily helps to organize all of my insights. It'll tell me, many people said this, not many people say this, males said this, females said this, but it doesn't help to synthesize those insights. It doesn't have context around your program. It doesn't have understanding of your theory of change. A lot of that is very nuanced. It also doesn't understand things that participants may have not said, but may be important. So it doesn't come out with insights that tell you, many people didn't talk about this topic and that was an interesting finding. Instead, it just tells you what most people said. And so there's still a lot of critical thinking and synthesis required to produce your final report. And so AI, again, just helps you organize all of your data. And then you still need to do that final synthesis and analysis. So that pretty much covers the first case study. Maybe I'll just pause here to see if there are any questions around the AI avatar or the analysis of those interview transcripts.
Thank you very much, James. Манайханд асуух асуулт байгаа юу? Ихний case study-гаас.
Сонсогдож байна уу?
Ааха, сонсогдож байна.
Thank you, James. So I have a question about avatar.
Yes.
So usually when we do interview, there's quite an environment that we deal with some dynamics like power dynamics. So if it's more political or government person, we also try to portray more with different techniques, right? Whereas maybe it's a local people more friendly, more layman language to be more, just create that different tailored atmosphere. So in those cases, how does the avatar the interviewers, do they change, or how that aspect is taken care of?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what some of our clients do is they create multiple avatars. And so the multiple avatars have different instructions, and it's tailored to different stakeholders that you might interview. And so this is not dissimilar from how you might just select some interview questions for some stakeholders. And you can do that as well. You can set up different avatars that are trained to interview different stakeholders. So if it's fairly straightforward and it's just different questions or just a different sort of level of the questions or level of insights, or it's the language that you use, those are relatively straightforward to modify the instructions for the avatar. What is much harder is if your stakeholder is someone who is, let's say, very senior, and therefore you may not want to send the avatar to engage a senior stakeholder. Maybe you want to build relationships during the interview. So it goes beyond what you want to do in a normal interview. Or let's say you're trying to interview more sensitive stakeholders. What we found is for some sensitive topics, people actually are willing to speak more to the avatar because it's not as awkward looking at a human and talking about sensitive viewpoints. In other sensitive topics, they feel like the avatar is a bit impersonal, and so they're less willing to share. So it's a more case-by-case approach for sensitive topics. So there's still a lot of room for learning and experimentation in the avatar space. But by and large, in summary, if it's straightforward instructions that are different, then you can create multiple avatars or multiple sets of instructions or questions. But then if it's more nuanced around, the seniority of the stakeholder, the sensitivity of the questions, then that's something that you might have to think about more case by case.
Okay, that's great. Chimge also asked one more question. A question
We
about.
also, in the
Yeah.
chat.
Oh, okay. You go on, please, Chimge. Okay, I will read it. How do you get ethical approval for the avatars from the IRB?
Yep. So it's not too different from a normal interview. So you would stage it out. That's one piece, meaning that you would do some pilots. You show that the avatar doesn't, go crazy and ask very odd questions. You also need to show in that pilot that your stakeholders feel comfortable, and you need to gather some feedback on that. So that's one piece, which is just piloting and showing that in your context it works and the technology works. The second piece is more around data security, which is essentially similar to handling all sensitive information. So at least for us, we encrypt all data so no one else can see your data. And we don't use the data to train any of our AI models. So that ensures that your data is not spread to anyone and you can delete that data at any time. So that's a second piece of IRB approval. And then the third piece is, again, similar to what I talked about, which is, whether it's younger interviewees or more sensitive topics, that also requires more judicious use of the avatar. It's not that IRB will reject it totally, but in your proposal, you need to be much more careful about what kinds of questions you're asking, how you'll mitigate some of the risk around sensitive topics, and follow up with your respondents accordingly. So we've done interviews with children, for example, and the children love to call the avatars Mr. AI and Mrs. AI, and they have a good time speaking with the avatar. Because a lot of the topics that we've covered are, fairly straightforward topics, things like sanitation or infrastructure or economic opportunities. It's not too controversial. But then, of course, if you steer into sexual reproductive health, or if you talk about more family violence type of issues, there you have to be much more careful and do small pilots to show effectiveness before scaling up.
Okay, that's great. My question was asking about the data security that you mentioned. That's really the interesting that, as you mentioned, that data security can be secured, as these data findings will be only used by this time, not to be shared to the overall.
That's right.
Yeah, generative AI. Is that right? My understanding.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, that's great. Just one quick question. This interview is that you mentioned that only the one-on-one interview, right?
Yeah, it's not focus groups.
Not focus group. Do you have the plan or any experience like the focus group discussions with the AI technique?
Yeah, we are developing technology to do focus groups.
Mhm.
The main thing for focus groups is, however, with the avatar, if you for a lot of people, they do focus groups because they want to get as much responses in as little time as or little effort as possible. But with the avatar, there's no real need to do focus groups. You can just do individual interviews. You get 10 times or 5 times more information because that's a personalized interview. So what we find is a lot of people, instead of doing focus groups, they're doing individual interviews with the avatar. So they get richer insights. But at the same time, there are some situations where focus groups are useful, and that's something in the pipeline as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So the other participants, if you don't have any questions, so we can go on now. Go on.
Okay.
There. Okay.
So I'll move on to the second case study, which is to use the AI to do synthesis. So it's very similar, but in this case, it's just analyzing Excel data. So this was what UNICEF had. They had evaluation report information, but a long list of recommendations and management responses. And it'll just take a long time to synthesize all of that, find trends, and so on. So what they wanted to do was to use AI to identify some of the key findings and common recommendations and common management responses. So what they did was they used our platform, So they uploaded their data, and then they selected the column that contained all of that management responses and recommendations. And then they click on the button, and the AI then helped to generate a code book, or basically the top themes and sub-themes. So this is similar to, let's say, if you want to analyze social media data, where you have a lot of social media posts or social media comments, or if you wanted to analyze some open-ended survey responses. This is also a similar approach. In this case, they had some management responses. So when they clicked on this button, the AI will then generate something like this, where it gives basically a code book. So it gives, the theme, the sub-theme, and the description. And it covers sort of the key takeaways for the common management responses and recommendations. And so and then they can modify this as they need. So they can align it to their theory of change or align it to their evaluation framework. And once they're happy with that, they can then click on the button and it will code every single row for them. So in terms of the AI output, it looks something like this, where you have in zeros and ones, those are the AI codes. And then on the right, that's your original data. And so everything is tagged to the code book that you wanted. And so once everything is coded, they can then generate charts like this, where it gives them the top themes and sub-themes and tell you how frequent they are. So that makes it much more effective. The AI will also give you a short report and telling you what were the top themes and some key quotes, so you understand the data in more depth. And then there's also a chatbot that you could use to refine this report or find more quotes, do additional analysis. And then if you need even more analysis, you can see that you can scroll down and you'll see for every sub-theme, we give you a short summary as well, along with some of the key quotes. And so, it's very, very efficient because they no longer need to, do this line by line. The AI does it instantaneously. And all of the summaries are also very effective at helping them understand some of the key takeaways. And so a lot of the AI generated content went into the final report. So this was the final report. In the UNICEF report, and you can see that, here, these are the elaborations that the AI provided, which they included in their final report. These were the charts that the AI generated, which they also included in the final report. So it's very effective. So that really
tells me that AI is becoming a core part of helping you organize and synthesize a lot of your insights. This is my final slide, and so I just wanted to reflect on some of the key takeaways across these two case studies, but also a lot of other case studies that I've done beyond these two examples. And then we could leave a bit more time for question and answer after this final slide. But essentially, the first key point is there's fairly high accuracy in the use of AI. We've come to the point where AI can understand your reports, your interview transcripts, and so on. And you can see across the two case studies, even at the UN level, people are trusting AI's analysis, and they don't find huge issues. At the same time, this goes to point number 2, there's a need for human oversight. So as I talked about, AI just helps you organize all of your insights. It gives you those charts. It tells you what were common viewpoints, but it's not trying to do critical analysis. It's not trying to tell you that, what is the recommendation out of this, or how does it apply to my context? And so the human is still required to do all of the critical thinking and the synthesis. AI is just there for you to help you manage all of the large data sets and help you group them into different topics. The third point is on hallucination, bias. Again, those are also relatively less risky for now, because with the innovations in user interface and so on, you can see those citations, you can see those quotes, you can click on the quotes to verify that they appear in the documents themselves. So that's why the risk of hallucination and bias is relatively low. Everything is linked back to what your participant said or what the report said. And so people who are worried about this, if you find good software that give you citations where you can verify things, generally speaking, this is less of an issue. The fourth is something that is underappreciated, but is very, very critical. It is around ambiguous phrases. So, often we use terms that are very ambiguous and are not well defined. So these are things like strategic partnership or leave no one behind or other terms. But it's often not clear who is a strategic partner. Is it a private sector partner? Is it a research institution? Is it a long-term donor? If you don't spell that out for the AI is just going to assume some broad definition, which may not be aligned to what you use. And every report and every interview might also describe a strategic partner in different ways. And so if you want to use AI effectively, you have to be very careful in making sure that some of the key terms, which could be very broadly defined, are more narrowly defined so that the AI can give you a more consistent analysis. It's not that the AI is making up information, it's just that it doesn't understand your definition. And often the documents themselves also contradict each other and use different definitions. So you have to be very clear in what you are looking for. And it's very iterative because it's hard for you to figure out beforehand some of these edge cases. And it's only as you go through the data and as the AI surfaces some of its preliminary insights, when you are able to figure out that, oh, actually, that's not what I meant. I don't mean a strategic partner as someone who sits on a strategic committee. The strategic committee has no real significance in this context. And we just care about, maybe non-traditional partners, and we call them strategic partners. So those are some nuances that you have to take into account. And then the last point, which I already talked about, is to ensure that your data is encrypted whenever you use AI tools. So that ensures that your data will never be exposed and people can't unlock your data. And then the last is make sure that the AI is not used to train any AI models as well. So that ensures that it's not leaked into other domains as people use these AI models. So that comes to the end of the presentation. I'll pause here and stop sharing so we can go into more of the Q&A section of this workshop.
Thank you very much, James. So now the Q&A session. If you have any questions, just open your mic and ask the questions directly, or just put it in chat box. Okay. Meantime, just I have one question. That you mentioned that the data security or the data accuracy and so on, right? So my question is that what is especially in terms of the first case study, what is the main, especially I would say the data assurance, or especially the collecting the data during the interview process. So how do you ensure they're asking the questions, they're prepared the questions, even you just mentioned that the follow-up questions are also trained by the AI, right? So how could we, okay, AI also trained, but AI is asking the question, but interviewer is answering the question, right? So how do you assure that the answering the question is the correct or more accurate or relevant to the main topic and relevant to the specific question, etc. So this is the one question so far. In the end, I have one more question.
Okay, so I think you're asking, how do we make sure that what the respondents say are relevant to the question, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I think the first point is if you use ChatGPT or other AI tools, you'll find that increasingly the AI is more and more intelligent. And so at the basic level, AI is able to understand what the conversation's about, understand your interview guide, understand your research objectives, and therefore are able to ask relevant follow-up questions and understand what the respondents are saying to assess if it's relevant or not. And if it's not relevant, then it will follow up to probe deeper and try to steer it back to the research objective. So that's the first point, which is the basic intelligence of AI is increasing over time. The second point is more around making sure that you test your interview questions. Often it's not that the AI is making a mistake. It's that maybe your interview questions are not very clear, or your respondents may not be very familiar with the program that you're talking about or the specific aspects of what you're asking. And so you also need to sort of guide the AI to tell the AI that, perhaps for some of these questions, you might need to clarify or give it a bit more context of what the question is about. Or you need to tell the AI that, if the respondent doesn't understand the question, then, feel free to skip the question, because not all respondents may be aware of, some aspect of this program. So those are the two key points to make sure that whatever that the AI is asking and whatever that the respondents are responding to are relevant to your research objective.
Thank you very much. Chimge, over to you.
Yes, thank you. So James, one honest question and honest answer from you would like to hear. So usually how much is the cost of, for example, using the AI that the enumerators or the evaluators, and in terms of, maybe you could just put it also in ratio, like having a real person enumerator and then having the AI enumerator, the evaluator, let's say, right? So in terms of just the overall picture of financial side of using your ISIs and just the cost information about your product.
Yeah, so in terms of the cost, for the AI interviewer, it's US dollar 150 per hour per interview. So it's $1.50. It's relatively cheap to run these interviews. So if you need to collect, let's say, 10 interviews, then it's 15 US dollars. That's on the AI avatar side. And then on the analysis side, it's US $50 per month. So within that month, you can run as much analysis as you need for as many documents or as many data as you have. And typically, you will finish your analysis in about a month or at most 2 months, um, given the efficiency of AI. And so in total, for some of these projects, Unitar, when they wanted to collect 50 interviews, they only paid US 75 US dollars. And then for the analysis for UNICEF, they would pay 50 US dollars. So that's on the cost side. At the same time, it's not like the AI is replacing um, your the humans, in particular for the evaluators, because as I said, a lot of synthesis and the implications and all of that still requires humans. But in terms of like the enumerators or all the hand coding that you might do for interview transcripts, those can be somewhat replaced.
Great, thanks, James. Just a follow-up question on that. So when it comes to using AIs, how user-friendly it is, right? So we give the interview guide to the avatar, and she does like what kind of efforts that needed from the evaluation team, like human, to train her, or do we have to train her? Like how is the
No,
procedure?
yeah. The concrete process is you just give us your list of questions and then give us your research objective. And then we are able to then immediately create the avatar for you. You can select from a range of avatars, but then once that's done, you can then deploy the avatar and send that URL link to your respondents. And they can respond via email, via a computer, on their desktop, or on their mobile phones. So it's relatively simple for them to respond as well. So if you are interested, if any of you are interested, you can always email me, and you can give me your interview guide, just a standard interview guide that you might have used in one of your previous projects. And I will create a sample for you, and you'll see if it's accurate or not. Or you can go onto our website. There's also a live demo where the avatar talks to you about some hobbies. We also show you in the demo the prompt that we use to guide the avatar, the interview guide that we use. So you can see it's a relatively short interview guide, and then the AI is able to follow up from there.
Do you have Mongolian speaking avatar? Or
No, we don't. You saw those 28 languages. That excludes Mongolian. Mongolian's quite hard.
Yeah. So usually, of course, our respondents are Mongolian speaking
Yes,
people, right?
yes.
So in that case, how we should then use your avatar?
Sadly, you won't be able to use it. You would use it for English. And then for those that are Mongolian speaking, then you would unfortunately do it manually. But I think what today's workshop tells you is it's coming within the next 1 year or 2 years. We'll definitely expand into Mongolian. This tool and other tools will also probably have some sort of features around that. And at that point, you should be ready in thinking about how you might leverage something like this. So people will still do human interviews because they are very, very useful, but they will try to be more participatory in their evaluation process by using the avatar to interview many more of the beneficiaries or the implementation partners and things like that. So they get a much more diverse range of voices than they could otherwise get if they had to do it manually.
Okay, great. Just also just follow-up question that you mentioned. Is this that you mentioned that the interview and the analysis sections can be separated?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So in that case, so now you don't have AI doesn't have the Mongolian language, so it means we can use the already transcripted or just drafted the questions answering questions in the Word or in a file. Then we can use for the main output or synthesis and so on using your AI, right?
Yeah, so the avatar doesn't only supports like 30 languages, but the analysis supports 90 plus languages, and that includes Mongolian. So you can upload,
Really?
so you can upload your data, your interview transcripts in Mongolian, and then the AI will give you the analysis in English, and it's able to understand Mongolian. But what the limitation is on the avatar side. They're doing real time conversation in Mongolian is a bit too difficult right now.
That's great. Wow, it's really, really concrete and really impressive.
So, James, when you say that the AI can analyze the transcripts in Mongolian, right? So, do you have the voice record, like
Transcription?
Yeah, transcribe, like you type here
We
the
do
words.
have transcription, so you can upload the audio in Mongolian and get the transcription in Mongolian. We do have that capability. The accuracy is maybe like 80 to 90%. So it's not perfect. So Mongolian is one of the more challenging languages, but we do have that capability on the platform. So you can always create a free account, and then you could test it out for free, the accuracy of the transcription. We have like a free plan that allows you to experiment with all the features. So you get to test out how accurate the AI is in Mongolian.
So in terms of the cost, as you mentioned that $50 a month, is it inclusive cost of the transcribing and synthesizing, or different separate prices include are there?
Yeah, so in terms of the cost, the analysis is $50, and you can run an unlimited number of analysis. And then the transcription, those things, transcription, the avatar, those are additional add-ons. So let me share my screen. So I think you can see the screen. So maybe I'll show this page first. So here you see that at $50 a month for the Pro, you get an unlimited analysis, and that covers your thematic analysis, content analysis, and so on. And then if you want, and there are some add-ons. So the add-ons are the AI avatar, which is at US $150 per interview, the audio transcription, which is $1 per hour, and then the document translation, which is $1.50 per 10,000 words. So if you don't use those three features, then it's just $50 a month. If you do use those features, then those are the additional charges on this platform.
That was an awesome motion, by the way, emoji.
Okay. So Do you have any other questions, Chimge?
No, thanks very
Okay.
much.
Okay, so it's thank you very much. And we now end here, but before that, I want to ask for the even though you mentioned that even the human analysis or human the critical thinking is needed, right? Even the AI, the developed or anything. So, but still, uh, many practitioners are not the AI specialist, but what can we learn from this kind of AI practices? Like, uh, of course, we will prepare the guidelines for the interviewing and so on, but what's more we needed to learn through this very diversifying and very emerging the time of AI development. Do you
Yeah,
have
I
any
think
suggestions?
yeah, I would say I would make 3 points. The first is I think the fact that you're in this workshop is awesome because it means that you think that you want to learn AI and keep yourself familiar with the use of AI, and that's very important because every 3 months the state of AI will change, and so it's very important to always keep up. And the second point is uh, don't think that there is a final definitive way to use AI because the field is moving so quickly that anyone that tells you, just learn these 3 things, you will, master AI is probably lying. The AI will change so quickly that what people say is the best practice today is not going to be the best practice tomorrow. And so the final point is just use AI and try to use it. It might not be perfect. You might see a lot of mistakes that the AI is making, but in a year's time, probably a lot of that will be solved. And it's better to be ahead of the curve than behind the curve because it's such a powerful technology. So the 3 points are around making sure that you stay curious about AI. The second point is don't really believe in like a end state or like a course that you could take or like a certificate that you could take. These are probably, just momentary best practices and it'll change very quickly. And then the last point is just use it. And because once you use it, you get to see all the flaws and all of the strengths of AI. And at the same time, you get to see how AI evolves as you continue to use some of these tools. There are lots of free tools. The one that we're developing is a bit more premium, but already there are a lot of free tools. So you could just start off using some free tools and then evolve from there.
That's very great tips. Thank you. Thank you very much. So even Jimge mentioned, okay, thank you very much. Oyanga Munkot also mentioned that thank you very much for the great presentation and interesting discussion. And the question is that I'm just wondering if we can find the reports of the 2 case studies. Oh, okay. She's asking that can we find the reports that you have shown us, the case studies by the UN presented today? Is it available on the online or it's?
I think one of the reports are online. The other is internal evaluation. So let me share the other report that other report is the UNICEF report.
Okay, that's great.
And that report is quite interesting. So look at the annex of the report because the annex contains a more detailed comparison of human versus AI. And they go into like how much a consultant costs versus how much the AI costs, how much time the consultant would spend doing this analysis compared to a human. So that's quite a powerful report in the comparison of human versus AI.
That's great. Thank you very much. We just received, well received. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much again, James, for your time today. Very eye-opening and very interesting. And also, we had just today we are in the area of very high, just very, very quick development of the AI. So thank you for the tips as well. We must keep up, but we have to be very be aware of what is the best lessons learned and what is the best lessons learned and so on. Okay, so I want to thank you again and good luck, and we'll see you again and hope to see the Mongolian language avatar will be there soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.